Imagine a phoenix rising from the ashes, but in this case, it's not a mythical bird, it's Japan. Today, Japan boasts the title of the world's third largest economy, with a GDP exceeding $4 trillion and a population of 125 million. It is a land of innovation, progress, and resilience. But let's be clear, Japan today is not what it used to be. Japan's history bears witness to a dark chapter, the aftermath of World War II. The nation was devastated, and its economy lay in ruins. So, how did Japan go from the ashes of war to the economic powerhouse we see today? What factors led to this incredible boom? The answer lies in the remarkable resilience, determination, and ingenuity of the Japanese people. This is the story of Japan's economic miracle, a tale filled with hope, determination, and the unbeatable human spirit. In this video, I will uncover Japan's path from the ashes to becoming an economic powerhouse. Welcome to the unbelievable story of Japan's economic miracle. Impact of World War II. Look at these heart-wrenching footages. This is the aftermath of World War II that left the Japanese people grappling with chaos, hunger, and unemployment, with a staggering portion of their industrial and commercial infrastructure reduced to rubble. Upon Japan's surrender in August 1945, the nation lay in ruins. Over 2.5 million Japanese lives, including over 500,000 civilians, have been lost since the attack on Pearl Harbor. Vast swaths of Tokyo and numerous other cities had been reduced to ashes. The aftereffects of the war were even more devastating, which left the nation in a precarious situation. Now, let's break down the consequences of World War II one by one. Unemployment. Japan's economy encountered a multitude of challenges, with unemployment emerging as the most pressing and problematic issue. The demobilization of troops left 7.6 million jobless, while the end of military production added 4 million more. Additionally, around 1.5 million people were forced to return to Japan from abroad, bringing the total number of unemployed to around 13.1 million. Food and energy shortages. Japan faced critical shortages of both energy and food. Coal, the primary energy source at the time, saw a significant output drop due to Korean and Chinese forced laborers refusing to work in the mines, leading to a paralysis in coal production. Simultaneously, the nation's food supply, primarily rice, was insufficient. Fuel and food scarcity raised concerns of widespread starvation during the winter of 1945 to 1946, prompting many unemployed individuals to join the agricultural and coal production sectors immediately after the defeat. Inflation. Another significant issue post-defeat was inflation, primarily stemming from the infusion of a substantial volume of funds into circulation for provisional military expenses. These funds included demobilized troops' salaries, payments for completed military orders, advance payments, compensation for losses, and more. Before we continue unraveling Japan's remarkable economic story, I'd like to take a moment and ask you to hit the subscribe button if you're finding this discussion as intriguing as I do. Your subscription keeps this conversation alive and ensures you won't miss future episodes. Now, let's dive back into Japan's journey. Path to reform. Despite being left with the wreckage of factories and infrastructure, Japan managed to embark on a fresh start in its economic reconstruction by leveraging its pre-war economic expertise and acquiring knowledge from the global community. Therefore, to grasp Japan's post-war economic growth, we need to look back at its economic history from the 1800s to the early 1900s. Historical foundations of Japan's economic resilience. As Japan embarked on its journey towards modern economic growth in the late 1800s by opening up to the world, a significant disparity separated it from the Western powers. This gap was a result of Japan's prolonged historical isolation. Nevertheless, Japan managed to narrow this divide through advancements in agricultural technology dating back to the Tokugawa period. By 1900, Japan was at a crossroads. As a densely populated nation with limited resources, it had to rely on trade for its basic needs. But the winds of change were stirring. Japan was gearing up for a grand transformation. Industrialization was taking root, setting the stage for a new era of growth. Japan had undeniably established itself as one of the world's foremost powers, boasting significant economic and military prowess. with the fundamental elements for its growth painstakingly laid in place. These remarkable achievements during the post-war period provided the basis and skills for the economic miracle after the destruction in 1945. Demilitarization and economic reform. The reform policies imposed by the Allied powers, particularly under the leadership of General Douglas MacArthur as the Supreme Commander for the Allied Powers, SCAP, had a more direct influence on the country's governance. One of the initial steps taken by MacArthur was the establishment of economic demilitarization, ensuring the complete cessation of military production. This pivotal move laid the groundwork for the crafting of the 1947 Constitution, in which Japan willingly renounced its right to maintain any military force and instead relied on the United States for protection against external threats. Reducing military and defense expenditures emerged as a primary driver behind Japan's economic miracle during the post-war period. Also, a series of reform policies were enacted under SCAP's oversight, chiefly aimed at democratizing the nation. Three major reforms stood out during the occupation of Japan. Breakup of the Zaibatsu. These powerful business conglomerates enjoyed government privileges and wielded significant influence. Dissolving the Zaibatsu aimed to dismantle Japan's military power, both psychologically and institutionally. Core holding companies were broken up, and their stock was made available to the public, fostering competition and marking the beginning of rapid post-war economic growth. Land reform. Land, predominantly owned and farmed by landlords, was redistributed to tenant farmers. This democratization policy sought to transfer land ownership to those who cultivated it and modernize Japan's land system. Land reform dramatically increased the percentage of owner-operated land, soaring from 54% to 90%. Labor democratization. Labor unions were permitted to form, and the proportion of organized workers surged, reaching nearly 60% in 1948 to 1949. Labor unions played a pivotal role in enhancing working conditions, wages, and job security. The 1945 trade union law granted workers the right to organize, bargain collectively, and strike, resulting in significant improvements in real wages and working conditions. Transitioning from reform to economic revival. The Dodge Plan in 1948. After implementing three key reforms, Japan's economy embarked on a path to recovery. However, by the summer of 1947, Cold War tensions in East Asia had led the United States to revise its Japan policies to accelerate economic revival. Joseph Dodge, the president of a Detroit bank, devised the 1948 Dodge Plan, which aimed to strengthen Japan's economy and cut back on American support for Cold War preparations. Dodge introduced three key policies: a balanced budget, suspending new loans from the Reconstruction Finance Bank to curb inflation, and reducing or abolishing subsidies. Korean War economic boom. The onset of the Korean War in 1950 had a profound impact on Japan's post-World War II recovery. During this period, global trade surged by 34%, benefiting many nations, including Japan. Japanese production experienced a remarkable 70% increase, providing a significant boost to businesses. Japan received substantial foreign currency, primarily from the U.S. military, totaling $590 million in 1951 and exceeding $800 million in 1952 and 1953. This influx, equivalent to 60 to 70% of Japan's exports, enabled annual imports of approximately $2 billion, crucial for industries reliant on imported raw materials and firms seeking expansion. Economic miracle. The swift economic growth in Japan from the early 1950s to the early 1970s wasn't solely a product of exceptional government policies. It was equally the outcome of the collective dedication and diligence of its people. One of the ways that the Japanese made use of their unique characteristics to expand the economy was to improve and make practical use of technologies and technological know-how imported from foreign countries. While Japan acknowledged its limited production of original technology, it excelled at combining various imported technologies. This amalgamation led to innovations like cost-effective mass production systems. Crucially, Japan's import of technology gained industrial significance when merged with domestic innovation. Technological advancements in one industry catalyzed growth across multiple sectors, playing a pivotal role in Japan's remarkable economic expansion. Although the Japanese people's diligent efforts were the main factor in the country's rapid economic growth, it is important to acknowledge that economic policies and planning also had a significant impact on the situation. Let's review the political factors that have contributed to this growth. 1. Yoshida Doctrine. Prime Minister Yoshida Shigeru formulated this policy during the early days of the Korean War. It prioritized economic reconstruction and development, reducing military spending by relying on U.S. defense support. This shift allowed Japan to focus its resources on rebuilding its economy. 2. Income Doubling Plan. Implemented by Prime Minister Ikeda in 1960, this plan aimed to double Japanese workers' income and elevate living standards between 1961 and 1970. It involved significant increases in government investments in both private and public firms, as well as a push for increased foreign trade. 3. The biggest contributor to the economic miracle. The 1960s witnessed unprecedented economic growth in Japan, largely attributed to the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, MIT. Established in 1949, this ministry played a pivotal role in the nation's economic resurgence. MIT fostered collaboration between the government and the private sector, enhancing industrial productivity and driving economic prosperity. It gained authority over technology imports and eventually took charge of all imports in Japan. The introduction of affordable, cutting-edge technology further invigorated the industrial landscape. Conclusion. As we wrap up our exploration of the Japan economic miracle, it's evident that Japan's journey from post-war devastation to economic powerhouse is nothing short of remarkable. Yet, a lingering question remains. Can Japan sustain this growth in the foreseeable future? We look forward to hearing your thoughts and insights on the future of Japan's economic prosperity. Thank you for joining us, and remember to show your support by liking, sharing, and leaving your valuable comments.